What's going on, everybody? Happy Saturday to you. We're live. It's Saturday. Could be nighttime where you are. Mr. Ned Kelly, good to see you over in the UK. Hope you guys are doing well this beautiful Saturday. What's going on, Nick from Iowa? Thanks for dropping in. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, definitely as we start out every single weekend when we do these, it's like, hey, what's going on? Where are you from in the world? Where are we watching from today? Are you local? Are you going to buy a second home here one day? Are you just an Orlando or Disney fan? Wherever you're from, I appreciate you hanging in. Aloha from Valencia, California. Good to see you, Chad. Let's see. Good afternoon, Stephen. Good to see you. We got St. Charles, Illinois, Lake County, Paige. What's going on? Lee Sawyer from Newcastle, UK. Good to see you guys. A lot of UK folks. You know what? I've heard that travel is starting to open up to where we can actually go see you guys. I guess if you're vaccinated and you got proof to something, I've got some people on my team that are going to the UK. So I'm excited for them. I'm excited for when you guys get to start coming back, because right now, no UK folks, Canadians. It seems like things are, we've got 30% more people to come hang out with, I guess, when international opens up. What's up going on, Robert from Dallas? Good to see you, friend. Staten Island, Wanda, good to see you guys. We're gonna let a couple more people roll in here before we kick off our day. Today we're gonna talk about 10-ish things that I have coming to Orlando that I'm very excited about. Some of them you already know about. Some of them I promise you probably don't, unless you follow me online somewhere. But we've got a lot of stuff coming into Orlando, which I think is fantastic, both from the theme parks out in the suburbs, from a political standpoint. The city's investing a lot into the downtown area. There's a lot of cool stuff we're going to talk about today. I've got some visuals for you. We're talking about the real estate market. And then at the end, we will be digging into your questions. So make sure you guys stay around and hang out with us. So David, what's going on from South Lyon, Michigan? I know South Lyon very well. What's going on? Big Money Ken from Claremont, Florida. What's going on? I was in Mount Dora this morning. We were shooting a man on the street. We were interviewing people. Such a cool little town. If you guys haven't seen our Mount Dora video, go check that out on our channel after this. Mount Dora is just like this sleepy little town, but they've got like a bunch of thriving mom and pop shops, which are super nice. Plenty of stuff to eat and drink. And the lakes out there are just beautiful. So we'll have that coming to you guys probably within the next week. But what's up, Veronica from Lake Nona? You're just seeing everything blow up all around you. That's super cool. Rick from Fort Lauderdale. Awesome. Well, listen, thank you guys for spending some time with us. Let's dive into this today. So let's see. Number one, I'm excited about, because it's right in my backyard, is Popstroke. Have you guys seen Popstroke before? This is actually coming to Hamlin, which is like in Horizon West, which is a part of Winter Garden. It can get a little confusing, but this is all right above Magic Kingdom. So for those of you that are looking for an anchor on where things are at in the world, Popstroke is actually owned by Tiger Woods and his group, his design group. And it's kind of like, to me, it feels like it's going to be like Top Golf in regards to like the food experience, right? They've got, beer, wings, pizza, decent food. But then instead of Top Golf, which is like more of a driving range, this is a putt-putt. It's 18 holes, a little bit more than putt-putt, if you will. I've heard these are opening up across the country. There's already a few of them in Florida, but this is the first to come to Orlando. So I'm actually really excited about this because A, it's in my backyard. I'll be able to take advantage of it. Tiger Woods is involved. I don't know. I'm pretty stoked about it. What about you guys? Have you guys seen these before where you're at? Already coming in with questions. I appreciate it. Feel free to drop them in whenever you'd like, and we will get into it. So yeah, this is going to be in Hamlin. The other crazy thing happening in Hamlin, just in general here, if you guys don't know where Hamlin is, it's just, again, it's like the top area of Winter Garden's Horizon West, and they are bringing a ton of other stuff out there. Not only just the Popstroke, but there's also going to be a new seafood restaurant that overlooks the lake. They've got a whole new food hall that's coming in. And so for food hall, when I think food hall, I think like school when I was a kid, the food hall. little bit nicer than that. If you've ever been to downtown Winter Garden and you've been to Plant Street Market, they're bringing one of those to Hamlin now. So there's going to be like local artisans, local business owners, Orlando concepts right there in Hamlin. And so for those of you that have seen Horizon West develop and you've maybe watched some of our other videos around Horizon West, it's taken a long time to get like commercial here finally, meaning like, you know, our day-to-day. We've got a Publix, we've got a Walmart, we've got a Starbucks. Okay, let's get beyond that, right? Let's get some more food, local kind of stuff that we don't have to drive to Disney Springs or drive up to Winter Garden Village and that sort of thing. And so, yeah, I'm excited. They're finally investing heavily into the commercial space to sort of fill out the rest of Horizon West, which I think is going to be really great for home prices. Not great if you're maybe a buyer, but if you're a homeowner in the area, it'll be great for home prices, and just give us more stuff to do here locally without having to drive too far. And you're seeing this a lot. Like Oviedo is starting to get really busy. They're building a lot more commercial out there as well. And let's keep going before I spoil the rest of my list. So what's going on, Laura from Baldwin Park? So good to see you. I love Baldwin Park. Like, is living in Baldwin Park as quaint as it feels when you drive through? I've sold a bunch of houses there, but it seems so like chill, beautiful. It's kind of like Celebration, but you're in the city of Orlando. Let me know what you think. Correct. NYC Iron, Dreamfinders is in Hamlin. And before, by the way, your screen name reminded me, before we get too far into this, it is September 11th. And so I definitely wanted 20 years. Crazy. Everybody remembers where they were 20 years ago. And so for those that, just the heroes on that day, the people that lost their lives and the families, we just really want to pay respect and just sort of pay homage to that today on September 11th. There's some really cool stuff on Instagram I reshared earlier today, just some stories of the heroicism on people on that day. And just the whole idea of like bringing us together as a country and the world. To me, that's what it's all about. Loving your neighbor. All right. Let's, how can you come check out The Office? Nice. Yeah, very cool. So I don't know if you can come check it out, but we've got a whole tour of it. And if you ever want to geek out over some of this stuff, I'm happy to. Let's keep going through some of these stories. So the next thing I think is a big deal is the UCF Board of Trustees accept the invitation to the Big 12. And so why is this important? I think because in Orlando, we have, we have soccer, like football, if you're in the UK. We have soccer, Orlando City Soccer, great. We've got a good following of that here. The Orlando Magic, it's okay. But I want baseball and football here. And we have the Knights, awesome. I think getting more eyes on the organization and how amazing that they are in general is going to be a great thing for Orlando. I'm hoping that we can become more of a sports town. Driving to Tampa, it's not that far to go see the Bucks play. Tom Brady killing it down there. Honestly, not too far, but have it like our hometown football team. I think this is cool, super cool of them to be invited and to accept to the Big 12. So that should get some eyes on what they're doing. Super cool. Let's keep going. So Margaritaville, Orlando developer secures $100 million for financing for expansion. Why is this a big deal? Like, well, whether you're a Margaritaville fan or not, the 192 area is experiencing a significant amount of increase for investment. And so I think that's great for that whole area, because if you've ever been up and down 192 and you've seen the gift shops, if you will, not super appealing. Some of the motels, some of the areas up and down 192, not the greatest, but they are spending a ton of money. They've got a 192 authority now that they've got money to invest in signage and making 192 a little bit nicer so it can tie in some of the nicer stuff that Disney has going on, some of the Airbnb neighborhoods, and meet in the middle, make that 192 area a little bit nicer. So now that Margaritaville has their additional financing in place, I think that's a great thing in general, because it continues to make that 192 thing even nicer. And so interesting though, I am curious. I've asked people that have stayed there that, what did you think about Margaritaville? And they're always like, oh, it's nice and clean and that it's new, but there's really nobody there. And yet they tell us that it's like on average 90% occupied at all given times. I just can't figure it out. I don't know. I cannot figure it out. The homes in there usually sell fairly quickly. You're not allowed to live there full time. It's like a vacation home only. Let me show you guys just maybe what these look like. Let's see. Actually, I had my MLS up real quick. I was listed for like 600. Anyways, these things, they don't have any garages. They're villas. They're not like anything more than that. They're specifically for short-term rental, that you buy them, you rent them out, and call it a day. Nobody really lives there. Let's see. I got this one. There we go. Seaplane. So you guys can see that. So this is what kind of like the houses at Margaritaville look like. They're cute. They're like, they're way different than anything that you would ever see in Orlando. Lots of bedrooms usually. This one only has 3, but listed for $630, 1,500 square feet for $630. So that's like $409 a square foot. So it's a lot. So it's not a cheap product. It's not something that you're able to just. They're not $200 or $300 grand. They're like nice areas. So the Margaritaville expanding, adding more assets, adding more neighborhood, kind of beautifying that area, keeping the high level of construction up, which I think is great. So let me ask. Let's see. Oh, here's an interesting question. So I just moved here. Oh, you're talking about Lake Nona. How can someone get involved in the decisions made on Lake Nona, like city council? It's very different here, such as fiscalative development is not incorporated. So Lake Nona is just a part of the city of Orlando. And so if you want to get involved with that, you'd have to get it at the city level, most likely. Most of the development that you see in Lake Nona is by Tavistock. And so they definitely take like polls, neighborhood polls of like, what do you guys want? What are you looking to achieve? But at the end of the day, they just make their decision based off of dollars. And so if you do want to get an idea of like what's going on in your neighborhood, though, like if you move to Laureate Park, it looked like you were building there, you could always get involved on the neighborhood level and, let them know kind of like, this is what I want to see in the neighborhood. They'll definitely have like an HOA board that you can join. So help make sure that everything's, monies are getting spent properly. Things are staying at a certain level that they need to. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on there. All right, let's keep going on a couple more stories, and then I'll jump into some more questions. All right, so this next one I'll go by kind of quick, but at the same time, it's the biggest deal going on here in Orlando. I think the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World here is great. I'm going to put this down in the description of the show notes afterwards, all of the links the stories that I talk about today. But this one I thought was extremely well done in terms of what they're actually doing for the 50th anniversary. I think actually they've probably done a better job than Disney breaking down what there is going on this guy here, this thing that just came out September 9th. So they're going through basically upcoming attractions, new firework and kite show, Harmonious at Epcot Forever. It's replacing Epcot Forever, but going through photo ops with different Mickeys, limited merchandising, elevated dining experiences. They kind of go through all of these different things. They did just a fantastic breakdown on the 50th. So if you've been part of anything at the parks recently, you can see they've got new collaterals up, just a lot of cool different things going on. So I think this is an amazing article. I'll make sure that I link this down below. What's going on, Don from Leeds? You're a little bit late. That's okay. We're only 14 minutes in. You can watch a replay. It's good. Appreciate you coming and hanging out. What else we got? We got a few more things, and then we'll get into some questions. Wellness Way, I think, is another huge one. So we've talked a little bit about the Oasis in the past. The Olympus, not the Oasis. I'm sorry. So the Olympus, and if you look here, this is, I think, a huge deal that I honestly have not talked much about in the past. So if you're looking at this map right here, hopefully you guys can see it fairly well. This is all Horizon West to the east of this green line. So this 429 rather. You've got Magic Kingdom. It even says a little magic. That's Magic Kingdom right there. 429. You've got Horizon West here. And then all of this is Wellness Way. Why is that important? Well, the guys that helped build out Horizon West are now building out Wellness Way. And so part of that is this Olympus project where you've got the athlete fields and just amazing amount of they're doing a new hotel there, corporate offices, kind of like this live work environment. They're trying to capture some of the nature by leaving ponds and leaving some of the conservation there, which I think is great. But it's going to be, I've been saying that Claremont's the next Horizon West for as long as you guys have tuned in. now that I'm seeing kind of like what they're actually doing and their concepts are kind of coming together and how big of an impact this is actually going to have on our area, it's quite remarkable. I mean, this goes all the way down on 27. This is already developed here, but then you've got 192 down here. So massive, massive area. And so I think that from a residential perspective, from a commercial perspective, it's going to continue to make like West Orlando, if you will, West Orange County, and then now Lake County, really just like prime area. And so if you're thinking about buying a house and you're like, hey, I want to be close to Disney, maybe I've gotten priced out of Horizon West, I think the Wellness Way area is definitely going to be something that you want to pay attention to. There's already new neighborhoods there, but what's coming is going to be pretty awesome. Yeah, Charlie, I agree. I mean, very disappointed with Disney by how they're raising AP prices and adding paid fast lanes. I mean, yeah, I get it. They're a for-profit business. While I'm a huge Disney fan, it does seem like they're squeezing out the lower income folks, but that's because so many people are willing to pay for it. If people weren't willing to pay for it, they wouldn't do it. And so, they obviously have weighed the cost of pricing people out and going from there. But hopefully, my friend, that they will actually reciprocate through better offerings, right? If you're going to pay a lot more, I want to expect more, right? I don't want to get the same stuff I've been getting and get charged more, because that'll upset some people. But there were a lot of lines. There were a lot of lines of people lining up to get AP, that's for sure. All right, here's a couple other cool things I think that I found. Let's see. Oh, for those of you that have not seen, if you guys follow BioReconstruct on Twitter, I found this to be very fascinating, kind of continuing on with some of the Disney stuff. This is the back end of Fantasmic, which we missed the show at Hollywood Studios so much, but you can see some of the refurb pictures. They did a little flyover. So if you've ever seen this, like the boat and stuff, how it kind of looks, there's a car down there. It's all empty, but it looks like they're refurbishing it and getting it ready to open up again, which I think is, I'm rather excited about. Let's get into some questions here, and then I'll wrap up at the end on some other stuff. Yeah, right at your backyard, Pravina. I appreciate it. Yeah, Holly, I agree. It's a crowd control measure. Yeah, you're right. I mean, here's the thing. If they can charge 10% more, 15% more, make the same amount of money, but there's less people, then I'm going to stay in the park longer. I'll probably go spend more money because I won't be hurrying up out of the park because I'm sick of being body to body with people. It will be a bit of a better experience. Just in that alone, don't disagree. Yeah, have to make losses from COVID. Yeah, they lost a ton of money. That's for sure. All right, let's get into some questions, and then we'll get back later on. Chad had a question about, hello, do new construction sales offices allow people to visit their models without registered and avoiding their ability to have an agent present with them? Every builder is different. So, you can pretty much pop in at any time. They will always like, hey, register, because they want to get your information and be able to follow up. How much information you give them is up to you. But if you walk in saying like, hey, I'm working with an agent, or hey, I'm just looking, but my agent sent me to take a look, here's who my agent is, most of them will be cool with that. Some of them will be like, no, sorry, if they're not here with you, doesn't count. You can't work with them in the future. But for the most part, you're good. Whoa. Off to Disney. Okay. You had to spend 15 days in Antigua just to get here. Tell me about this story. I mean, I'm very interested to hear what's going on. We'll finish up the MBA. There's lots of places. There's a lot of places here. Let's see. Here we go. Do you think Orlando Metro has potential for commercial real estate investment? I do. I mean, unfortunately, the cap rates are getting really, really tough and so cap rates being your investment, for those of you that don't know, are getting really, really tough in so many different ways. So I think some of these submarkets that have future opportunity, you might be buying for the future, but then you can always raise rents over the years. That's where I would be looking. So some of these Lake County opportunities, Claremont being one of them. Like if you haven't looked at like downtown Claremont and see like the potential there of like what's actively coming, that I think is the play. So it might not be a massive return on your cap rate right up front, but if you're looking at 5, 6, 7 years into the future, that's a fantastic opportunity. So I know you look at like apartment cap rates, these apartment builders and developers are building these apartments, leasing them out, and then selling them for like a 2x multiple in the multi-millions. It's really wild what's going on. He said copper oak like golden oak, but a little bit more affordable. I love that. That is fantastic. Sorry to hear that about your friends, NYC. But thank you guys. All right. Can you discuss the new rules coming into play buying a home after November 1st? I'm hearing that the laws are changing on a few things regarding financing and closing. How does that impact the buyer? I haven't heard any changes from our title company or our lenders. So are you talking about a specific loan type, or are you talking about our general area? Really, November 1st just has to do with your taxes. So they reassess and your tax bills get paid in November. But really, other than that, nothing massively changing. Which areas I feel like are more green and embrace sustainable living? I would say that so Florida has some very like strict conservation area rules. And so like if you drive through, say, Horizon West where we live, there's lots of conservation pockets everywhere that just are not allowed to be changed. So I think in general, Florida does a good job outside of, some of the major metro areas. So like, downtown Orlando, there's not a ton of green space. There's ponds everywhere you can see, but a lot of these other like Wellness Way, Sunbridge down in Lake Nona area, the state has said, hey, listen, if you want to develop these areas, you are going to have to be more and more green, leaving more green space, leaving more conservation, leaving more, all of this stuff. And so it's interesting to see, and I'm happy about it because these developers are putting these houses on really small lots. As an offset, they're having to add more conservation space in the developments. And so I think that makes just for a more beautiful Florida. And that's what I would say about that. Lived in Four Corners regions for 31 years on 192. West Orange High School has the closest area. Should have jumped on it. Yeah, we're $1,000 an acre. I tell you what though, Brian, when I first moved here 5 years ago, we lived in Celebration. And even at that time, I was like, oh, Horizon West, you guys live all the way in Horizon West. Like Waterley seemed really far away to me because my office is in Dr. Phillips. In my mind, it seemed forever away. And now it's in the middle of everything. And so I start thinking to myself, okay, in 5 years, what's going to be the next Horizon West? Like what's going to be something that they used to say that seemed way far away. And now it's really not that bad. I think like Mineola is going to be that. I think Groveland's going to be that. Some of the farther out areas of Claremont, I think are going to be that. And then, you start looking farther south. So like a Winter Haven, I think Lakeland is going to eventually see some kind of like glow up. I mean, Lakeland already has some cool stuff already, but you can kind of get some affordable places down in Lakeland. It's kind of a drive and you have to deal with I-4 to get back up to Orlando. That's the only downer. But I think that as people, as the sprawl happens, those areas start to get bigger and bigger. All right. Oh, looking in Lakeland. Any suggestions? Yeah, we do have somebody on our team that handles that far south. So if you want to shoot us an email, we can give you some suggestions. All right, I'm going to get back into this as you guys are asking more questions. What other things are going on? So BioReconstruct has this new photo of Tron. You can kind of see this canopy. I guess the blue, they were telling me, the blue is going to help hold on the additional canopy. And if you don't understand what Tron is going to look like, this is what Tron in Shanghai looks like. Hopefully this comes through okay on the live stream. But I mean, you basically sit on these light cycles and they close you in. It's the most amazing thing. I'll drop this link as well. The full POV of the Shanghai Disneyland one is like, wow. Here we go. Look right here. You can kind of see it takes off, goes through this canopy, and this canopy right here that they're showing is the canopy that's right here. So they're building something very, very similar. I have not been as excited about a ride to come to Disney as this one. I've been talking about it for like 2 years, and it's like it seems like it's almost there, which to me is like super exciting. So that's another thing that's going to be really cool. Yeah, Pravina. So will Wellness Way and Western Way connect to Sawgrass Bay? How will Olympus change the connector? So it's going to be right in the middle. Well, the connector. Here, I'll show you on this. So somewhere in here, forgive me, I don't have the exact, because this isn't like a live map. This is just a photo. But here how it cuts over from like the Hamlin area. Oh, the Hamlin's area. Yeah. Hamlin area. It's going to connect all the way back up and through. So I do think that, I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago as I was driving up to the Wellness Way area and also the Western Way connection from Flamingo Crossing. They're starting to cut in the roads. Like they're moving dirt, they moving out old trees, they're moving up the concrete and getting ready to make that expansion and the connection. So like I would guess that by the end of this year, if not mid Q1 of next year, that should be open. And then it's a game on from there, because I think, it opens up that whole Claremont area very quickly. So it's very cool. Yeah, Charlie. So changes have to deal with lenders. You know what? I hope you mentioned that the lender's not ordering appraisals in timely manner. I mean, they order them in a timely manner. The problem right now is going to be that you order an appraisal and you don't hear back for sometimes 2, 3, 4 weeks on an appraisal. Where Paige, who is watching, she's on our team, helps us run our operations. She'll give a purchase agreement to a mortgage company and say, okay, let's order the appraisal right away. They typically do that within the first 1 or 2 days of a deal, and then just to try to get ahead of it. And then we sometimes don't hear from an appraiser until like week of closing, and then you have to extend closing because it's just this big long nightmare. And so we're seeing that more and more, unfortunately. And so if they have to all of a sudden change that in some way, I would be so happy. Yeah. Okay. So off to Disney saying the same thing. I'm going to talk to Greg about that actually. After we're done with this, I was going to catch him off guard and just call him, but yeah, Dave, Epic Universe is going to be bananas. Actually, that was another one that was actually on my list here of things that's going on. There's actually some new, let's see, news, boom, 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 boom. Epic Universe beginning to take shape. Here we go. Boom. So Epic, this is just August 20th. So they're starting to move a bunch of dirt there. And honestly, they had paused all construction through COVID. So it was kind of like a wild deal. But Epic Universe they're moving dirt. They're starting to look at footings. That is going to be absolutely incredible. Definitely on the top 10 list of things that are coming. I think it's interesting when you start hearing from like the executives over at Universal, they start talking about, the theme park wars. I love that kind of stuff because honestly, that's the stuff that demands Disney to do better. Disney opens up a new asset and it makes Universal do better. And I think that just works out better for everybody in terms of the consumers to make sure that, we're getting what we paid for. So they don't let things, buildings fall apart and all that kind of stuff. So what's up, Stephen from the UK? Good to see you, friend. Appreciate it. All right. So Michelle says, we are building, got pre-approved through the builder. House will be done in February. They quoted loan with PMI. Will I be able to get rid of PMI if the value of the new build goes up when we close? Not when you close. No, unfortunately. And it looks like I'm getting hopefully I'm not like lagging for you guys too much. Hopefully this is okay. I'm going to close out some windows because the stream seems to be lagging a little bit. Yeah, so you can't do it when you close because they're going to appraise it. Typically, your house is going to appraise for whatever you're buying it for on the day of closing. Like, so even though the new builds, like, so say you bought a house for $400,000 and when you close, it's now worth $440 and you put 10% down or whatever, and you still have that PMI in your mind, you're like, well, now I have 20% equity because it raised up 10% and I put 10% down. So I've got that 20% gap, but the bank is only looking at what your purchase agreement was when you first signed it. And so most of the time, those purchase agreements, the appraisers walk in and say, is it worth what they're paying? Yep. Okay, cool. We're good. And so you don't. So you'd have to do either a refinance or some banks will allow you to pay for an appraisal. You can have it reappraised. And if there is that gap, then PMI can fall off. If not, you're stuck with it for like 5 to 7 years. So definitely something I would consider doing a refinance on, 6 months after you purchase the house, 3 months after you purchase the house, if the equity is actually there, because you don't want to be locked in for 7 years on PMI, and who knows what's going to go on interest rates next year. My guess is they go up. That's what everybody is signaling to kind of help us tamper down some of this inflation. So if you're going to do it, I would close and refinance as quick as your bank will allow. Thank you, Paige. No lag here. I'm glad. Yeah, I didn't, man, Jay. I wish Microsoft signed the lease here in Orlando. To be honest with you, the amount of industrial that's getting built here right now and office space that's getting built right here. I know Amazon's expanding their footprint here, but yeah, more and more tech jobs coming to Orlando. I know West Palm Beach is also a friend of mine sells down in West Palm Beach, sells houses, and a lot of the tech firms and people from New York, from the financial industry, the fintech folks are moving to West Palm now, like in massive droves. He said his business is just exploding, and you're investing in like second headquarters here. So it's not like they're going to be calling them back to New York. They're actually creating jobs in Florida, which I think is all going to be really great. I'm actually doing a next Friday, I'm going to shoot a $17 million house in Miami, and we're doing a video on that and comparing what 17 million gets you in Miami versus Orlando. Here's the spoiler: Orlando, you get a lot more for your money, but it'll be fun to shoot and just kind of get an idea of like what Miami real estate is doing in comparison, especially with all of these tech jobs and fintech stuff kind of coming to the area. Here's a good question from Danny. How much more is the interest rate on an investment property versus your personal home? Well, I'm getting ready to close on an investment property, and they're quoting me 4.25%, and that's with me putting down 25%. Right now, if you were to get a personal home, it's somewhere in like the low threes, high twos. So it's at least a point, if not a point and a quarter higher to do an investment property, because there's just more risk for the bank. It's not your personal home. Some banks are a little bit more aggressive than that, but for the most part, that's what you're going to be looking at. The more you put down, the lower your interest rate. But for the most part, it's about a point. So Nick C says, we live in Ruby Lake and home sales are extremely slow. Do you know what the deal is? That's a great question. I do see there's a lot of... So what happened in Ruby Lake is you had a lot of investors purchase a lot of those homes as specs from Pulte and MI Homes, and then like sit on them for a month or two and then relist them at like $100,000, $200,000 more than they paid. And I think some of those houses are just overpriced. You go in them, there's bugs everywhere. They just haven't taken care of the house on the inside. They really haven't done anything on the inside. But I mean, that Ruby Lake area is amazing to me with O-Town West coming right there. It's going to be remarkable, like the livability with the new high school, the new middle school, the connection over to Dr. Phillips, all of the shops and all of the restaurants over there. I don't think anything's wrong with your neighborhood. I think that houses actually were fairly well built, but I think investors are just a little crazy on what their expectations are for a home that they just built a year ago or 6 months ago. Hope that helps. Man, thanks so much, Charles. I tell folks all the time, in terms of, aside from actually working with my clients, this is my favorite thing that I get to do on a weekly basis, is just hang out with you guys, answer questions. I absolutely love real estate. I love Orlando. I feel like I'm just so lucky to live here and so get to talk about this for a living. It means a lot that you guys come out and hang out with me. Chen asks, do the majority of your clients have to commute to work or work more or less 45 minutes? I would say it's on average, I tell people to expect 30. It's funny because when I lived in Detroit, 30 minutes was like, that seemed like really far. And now everywhere I go is like 30 minutes. Like I drive 35 minutes to work myself. The majority of my folks, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I would say for the most part, it's like 30 to 35 minutes really to get anywhere. So to go an extra 45, like 10 minutes to go to 45, to maybe save on some house costs might be a good idea for you, depending on your budget. It's a good question. So for those of you who don't know, Jay asked about our $6 million Airbnb. How much is the rental? So crazy enough, man, between the time we shot the video and then posted the video, it sold. It was $6 million. Thing was like 9,000 square feet, 10,000 square feet. Anyways, it rents between $2,000 and $3,000 a night. And it has like this 2-story Toy Story room, an arcade, sick pool, just probably the nicest house I've seen in Reunion. And it's sold, so it's going to close in like a week or two. They had a cash buyer. Any update? What's up? So Matt says, my wife and I are interested in moving to Davenport. Seems like an up-and-coming area. Prices are still reasonable. We like the Estonia south of the 4. All the infrastructure and retail is close by. Yeah, I mean, listen, Davenport's a great area. There's a lot of land left. There's a lot of Airbnbs. And so that's the trade-off, is you have a lot of short-term rentals that kind of surround you. So that your day-to-day life in terms of community and all that kind of stuff might be disrupted a little bit. Traffic can be really tough on I-4 coming in and off of Davenport. If you're coming down 27, it's way easier. But if you're trying to use I-4 all day, every day, you're going to want to plan around that. But in terms of like dollars up front, it's significantly cheaper. So good idea. Take a look at it at least. So Dave asks, anything new about 192 renovations and construction? Yeah, I mean, earlier I talked about Margaritaville, and then there's another huge, like $500 million neighborhood across 429 that is in development right now. They're like going through the permitting phase and architectural phase and all that sort of thing. But those are like the main 2 big ones going on 192. Barbara, sorry. Where'd it go? Gosh, something just like 10 of them just came through all at the same time. Are there full concrete homes in Central Florida? So you're maybe meaning like block on the main level and on the second one. If that's the case, I mean, like I know D.R. Horton builds almost all of their houses that way now, but not every builder does. Not every builder even offers it as an upgrade right now to where you can do full block. I mean, the thing is, in Orlando, we're so far inland for a safety reason. You don't really need a full block house, but some builders are starting to offer it standard. But D.R. Horton does a lot of theirs. Congrats, Dave. KHOV Orlando, hopefully closing in January. Man, new construction. What an absolute crazy time we are right now. New construction. It is so crazy. Just like supply chain stuff. All of our homes are getting pushed. It's been quite wild. Let's take a minute here and do a little bit of market update for those of you that tune in on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis when we do these. I do the market watch just to give you an idea of what is going on in our Orlando market. This is like all 5 counties. Yeah, 5 counties. So that would be Orange, Osceola, Polk, Seminole, and Lake County that we pull these from. There were 700, and this is over the past 7 days. It just gives you an idea of like ballpark where are we at as a market. Things did slow down a little bit the first week of September because we had no out-of-towners. People's kids were going back to school. Things were really slow. If you were looking on like Instagram and you're seeing a ton of posts from people say like the parks are completely empty, what's going on? It happens every year. September slows down quite a bit. But then as you get into September, it starts picking up a little bit more. So new listings in those 5 counties, 795. It's about normal. Price increases 101. This is different though. Price decreases 380. That's actually quite a bit. That's usually that number kind of matches the price increases. Those go kind of tit for tat. So that means people, their homes weren't selling, and it could be for one of many reasons. It could be that they're overpriced. It could be the market slowed down in their neighborhood. We're still seeing multiple offers on most of our listings. Almost every buyer we work with is going against 4, 5, 6, 7 other offers. So the market, I wouldn't say has like slowed dramatically, really because of this number right here, pending 1,052. So 795 were listed, over 1,000 sold, which means that there's actually more homes selling than are coming on the market. And so that would still point to a very strong seller's market in general. So now once those numbers start switching, if we start seeing more new listings, more price decreases, and less pending homes, then we know the market's starting to shift. And so I literally look at this number every single day, and then I start tracking. How are we doing? You know, my team and I, we track how many offers do we write versus how many actually got accepted. And we kind of get an idea. I mean, there's 23 of us out there right now. And so like we get a really good idea overall of like how our market's doing. And so that's some numbers that we really pay attention to. Yeah, Matt, has your townhouse seen delays, or has everything stayed on schedule? Are you checking in on my townhouse? Because that's exactly the problem. We're delayed 2 months because of no windows. So we're supposed to close in October. That's not happening. It's looking like it's going to be November, maybe December. I have to go check on it this week. I checked on it last week and still didn't have windows. Sucks. So, and what's crazy around that too, Matt, is like a lot of these neighborhoods or not neighborhoods. The city of Orlando is starting to increase their coding on townhomes. So now like their fire suppression systems are completely different than they used to be, which is at the end of the day, probably better. Like the more strict the code is, the better product the end consumer, being you guys, gets. And so I think that's good. But when you're in the middle of a construction project, it's a little annoying. So I have clients that are trying to build right now in like say Lake Nona, and they've had to go back and forth with the city to like get new plans drawn up. And the builders are like, we just built this exact home right down there, and you didn't ask us to do X, Y, and Z. And they're like, oh yeah, the code changed. It's been updated. You got to make these things even better than before. So I think that's all good. I mean, if you look at homes that were built in the 90s here or 80s here, they were kind of like, do whatever you want. Go just bring in the tax revenue. We're good. And now they're much more strict on the baseline of what a home needs to be built. So anyways, there's a rant for you today. It's the only one. I'm just kidding. Yeah, $2,000 a night right now. In high season, it's $3,000 a night for that Airbnb and that $6,000 Airbnb. So Suzabet, I would say finding an agent is important first, but then also really talking to a lender even more. So a great agent is going to work with a great lender. Like you can go online anywhere. You can go to Quicken. You can go to, you can get an online pre-approval, but like talking to an actually great lender that's going to dig into like your financials and your credit and figure out your job situation and really give you like real advice, not just like, could you buy a $300,000 home if you want to, is important. So definitely, reach out to my team if you'd like to. We can connect you with a great lender, and then they're going to have an idea of like where you're at financially, how much money you need to put down. If you're a veteran, you can put down $0. All you're having to do is put down your closing costs of 3%. If you're in the conventional market that, 500,000 plus, you might need to put down 10, 20%. It just depends on your credit and your income, and the loan type you want. But yeah, there's lots to it. There's not one size fits all, but starting with the lending process is a great idea. Joel asks, what happened to Shaq's house? I thought it had a buyer. It did. It had multiple buyers, and it keeps falling apart. And so it's still on the market. Let me check on Mr. Shaq's house. It's been about a week or two. I've got a vested interest at this point. Nope. Nada yet. Yeah, KHOV does. Yeah, that's pretty much standard in Orange County in terms of like the first level. They backfill them with concrete just to keep the walls up. Chan asks, has any of the road highway expansion projects been completed? I mean, there's a lot of them undergoing, like 417, which is the road that takes you from like Lake Nona down to Celebration or Disney. If you guys have ever rode the Magical Express from Disney and you've gone down that, that's the highway or the toll road that you've driven down. They're expanding that right now to get ready for so much of the traffic that's going to be coming from like Oviedo all the way down to, I-4 over there. And so that's still ongoing. They're doing a good job. They work a lot at night. And, but yeah, they're expanding 417. They're going to be expanding 429 as well. And I'll show you guys, for those of you guys that care, what that looks like and why that's important. Here we go. Let's see. Boom. Let's see. All right. So you've got the 417 right here. So this is, you got the one that's like straight across the line here. This is they call this the beach line, which is 528. This gets you from like Orlando to over to where the the rockets take off in Cape Canaveral, Cocoa Beach, all that good stuff. But anyways, 417 is this one that runs all the way from up like Winter Park, all the way down to Lake Nona, and then crosses back over to I-4, which is like over here by Disney. So that's huge because this line is getting a ton of traffic. And while traffic's not really bad there right now, it is going to be because there's just the sheer amount of people that are living and building right along here. And so they're getting ahead of it, which I think is really smart because they didn't get ahead of it for I-4, which is why we have such terrible traffic. But then now they're also looking at 429, which is right here. This 429, because this is where Wellness Way is going to go. This is where Horizon West is. And this whole 429 area is starting to get more and more traffic. So thankfully, they're investing in those highway expansions to make things a little bit easier for us all, me included. Tim, what's up, dude? Good to see you, my friend. The Oasis by Pulte just started dropping their floor plans and their pre-sales, although nobody's signed contracts yet, this week, actually. So that's over by Flamingo Crossing. And then also Four Seasons by Khov, that's in Kissimmee, right across 429 though, just south of Margaritaville. There's 55 and older community there. It's gated. Good product for sure. What's up, Chris? Miami in the house, my friend. I got my coffee just for you. Just kidding, it's for me. But I'm coming to Miami next Friday for the day. It's good times. Ben Davis says, I love these bi-weekly chats, especially when I can actually see these live. Just hoping to, oh gosh, yeah. We don't talk politics on my show, but my man, I appreciate you every other week. It is cool to watch it live. I love answering your guys' questions live too. But a lot of you, it's amazing how many people respond afterwards in the comments on these lives for weeks and weeks after. And so if you're watching the replay, definitely comment down below. If you have any questions, I'll answer them. I'm like, you've ever left me a comment, I've probably answered it. I try to stay on top of it. I know you love coffee. Let me tell you, forget Foxtail, to go coffee shop of horrors in Montverde. Trust me. Dude, I'm going to go try it out. I appreciate that. I'm in Montverde often for like being up in Bella Colina. Go to coffee shop of horrors. Okay, done. Here we go. Let me see. I'll take a picture of this. Done. You got it. Appreciate the tip, my man. All right. So what are my thoughts on resort style neighborhoods for living? I've seen a lot of townhomes and condos for sale in the area. Do people live long term in those places often? You know, it's pretty rare. I mean, you look at like a neighborhood like Reunion, 90% of the homeowners there rent their home short-term rental, but 10% use it year round. And I've got clients of mine that have, you know, they wanted to live in Celebration, but maybe they couldn't afford it, or they wanted something a little bit bigger. And so they ended up going in Reunion, take advantage of all of the stuff that's there. But you got to think about like, you know, like how often there's like parties and people on vacation doing vacation stuff, right, in those communities. And so if you're cool with it and you're okay with that lifestyle, then you can usually get a better deal in those neighborhoods than you can elsewhere. There's two things to think about though. One, if schools are important to you, some neighborhoods like Solera is one of them in Kissimmee, or Davenport rather, they don't allow, they're like, if you can't live there full time because they don't pay impact fees to take kids to school. So you can't live there for more than 6 months and you can't call it your primary address. So there's some nuances there, right? But on the flip side, the amenities are amazing. Most of these have ridiculous amenities. And so if you're here for like 6 months out of the year, could be cool. Just lots to think about. Ooh, this is a great question, Nick. You win question of the day, my friend. So going back, this is actually a phenomenal follow-up to the last one that I just answered. So Nick says, thoughts on Claremont resale homes in formal rental-only neighborhoods off 27, south of Showcase of Citrus, close to 192, close to Disney, but not the carrot of being in Claremont. Okay, so two things here. One, I think that those areas are all starting to turn over, because think about the mentality of a short-term rental like Airbnb, right? They want the newest, they want the most updated houses, they want the sickest amenities, they want as close as they can get to Disney. And so you have a lot of these neighborhoods, like in Kissimmee, like Indian Creek's a really good example. If you guys look up Indian Creek, it's right off of 429. It's actually very close to Disney and was one of the first Airbnb neighborhoods. Now it went from like 90% short-term rental. It's flipped to like 75% long-term owners. That neighborhood in particular paid the impact fees so that the kids could go to school there and that kind of thing. But you just saw less and less ROI from owning an Airbnb because people are like, why am I going to spend $200 a night on an outdated house when I can go spend $225 a night on something amazing? And so you see a lot of these Airbnb neighborhoods. So it's my mindset that like over the next 10 years, all of the current Airbnb neighborhoods will most likely transfer over to being long-term if they don't keep them up. Like I don't think Reunion will change because it's very much so a resort neighborhood, but there's a lot of these that feel residential that will eventually switch over, if that makes sense. So to your question, I think that it could be a great opportunity for you because many of those neighborhoods have stopped doing as many Airbnbs, not as many crazy things to have to worry about, get a good opportunity for a cheaper home. You might have to renovate it, but I think it's great. Yeah. So Matt says to Dylan, a lot of the newer communities don't allow short-term rentals. Yeah. So if you're in Davenport or like West Kissimmee, most of these newer neighborhoods do. They're specifically for short-term rentals. But if you're in like Horizon West, you're in North Claremont, you're in Lake Nona, any of these other newer neighborhoods, they specifically do not allow short-term rentals. And if you get found out, like in Celebration, I think it's like a $500 per time fee. Every time you get found out, they charge you $500. So they're very like, no Airbnb here. Tim, dude, I appreciate that. We're going to try to, I definitely want to give a local flair to these. And as we launch the Orlando Reel, which by the way, right here, if you guys haven't gone to the orlandoreel.com to sign up for our newsletter, we're talking about theme parks. Yes, that's a third of what we're going to talk about. But then it's real estate and life in Orlando because we want more locals to like chime in as well. Like I just found out somebody told me about this cool new coffee house of horrors I'm going to go to. The more locals, I think the better it'll be. And we're going to curate our content to be like 60% for locals, 40% for out of towners. So everybody's going to get a little bit of something. David, I would ask, would I rather live in Reunion or Celebration? It's going to depend on what you're using the house for. Like if you're going to be there long term, I would choose Celebration for sure. It's this like community vibe. They've got town hall planning events all the time. They've got, food truck rallies and all types of cool stuff. But if you're like, hey, I'm going to use this as a second home, then it's going to be Reunion. What's up, David? Oh, dude, no, don't worry about it. No, you didn't say the wrong thing. Not at all. Sorry. I took it. Anytime I see anybody talking about anybody in politics, I just kind of keep going. But no, I can't wait to have you back. I'm serious. I miss my UK friends, going to grab food and grab a pint. Miss you guys. Asked to try their cold brew too. You can sample all their stuff, including ice cream, which actually has no dairy. It's just straight coffee. What? That's amazing. I'm down. So David says, I don't want to brag. It's okay. Having good credit history did give me the good interest rate at 3% when we closed on our vacation home at Legacy last month. Yeah. Good credit and good down payment is going to get you, could get even sub 3. Depends on what you're doing. Chad, I would say, so Chad asks, are you seeing most of your new construction clients send their kids to the community, public or private schools? It depends on the area, but I think most people buy into an area. If it's for schools, they're sending them to the public schools. And so, in many areas, a lot of the public schools were getting overrun because of so much new construction. And so you see a lot of new schools getting built here, like a ton. And honestly, like one of the crazy things that we're seeing a lot of is shortages on bus drivers and like school administration, like lunch ladies and all that kind of stuff, people to work at these schools. Interesting to me. We live in an area with with well-rated public schools, but the bus system, they had like 100 bus drivers short. They're 100 bus drivers short. And so they started picking up kids late and all this other kind of stuff. So growth is not always, growth is messy, they say. You would hope that they would have the forethought in a lot of these things. But yeah, just, anyways, I'm deviating from your question, but public schools in many areas are fantastic. We do also have some amazing private schools. And so we have some, like Windermere Prep isn't too far from me. And I have a lot of clients that send their kids to Windermere Prep for the academics, or not the academics, but for the sports. I have one in particular, they literally moved here from Seattle just to send their kids to Windermere Prep for their swimming. And so academics aside, that's why they moved here. Interesting kind of stuff. Irish Hammer, good to see you. Good to see you. Mid-October, man. That's coming up super quick to see if Celebration's a fit. I know we talked about Mattamy and some other stuff, craziness over there, but I think Celebration's fantastic. We can find you something there. So great question, Winston. We actually have an agent that lives on the Space Coast. She kind of handles like New Smyrna all the way up and down those areas. So she's fantastic. So if you're thinking the Space Coast, we're building that out. I live in the middle of the state, but there's a lot of people that will want to live in like Oviedo, Lake Nona, or maybe they work there, but they want to live on the ocean. And that's only like 45, 50 minutes away from there. So yeah, we're going to be covering that. We do have somebody specifically for that area. I mean, so you've got Windermere Prep. It's not religiously affiliated. You've got Lake Highland Prep. It's not religiously affiliated, at least that I don't know of. But then, yeah, you do have a lot of them that are owned by churches or run by churches or something like that. Bishop Moore sounds like it's probably affiliated. Buck, man, thanks so much. I appreciate you checking in. Good to see you. Howdy and hello to you as well. So we've got 2 more minutes and we're wrapping up here. Any other questions you guys have, please let me know. What's going on, Terry? I appreciate you joining. I did talk about inventory. Inventory still way down. We went over the numbers a little bit earlier, but in general, inventory is down. But I will tell you that the amount of builders that I'm talking to right now that have inventory finally getting ready to open up by the end of the year is so encouraging to me. I talked to a Toll Brothers rep the other day, and they're like, hey, we've got, I think it was like 11 neighborhoods getting ready to come on board in the next quarter, which that's what we need. We need more new construction so we can kind of alleviate the resale and hopefully slow down some of this craziness. This is a good question, James. So Hamlin has a lot slated for commercial growth, which is great, but unusual for some of these places to take such a long time. Yeah, so this is a phenomenal question because this is what Lake Nona did right. So the Tavistock fellas, if you're watching, this is what you did right. I'm going to tell you. So they built the jobs first. They built the hospitals, and they created some sort of like places people could work, and then to take care of those people, they built residential, which is, I think, the way that things should be done. Now, if unfortunately most builders and most developers do it completely the opposite. They say, hey, listen, I don't want to build a Starbucks if nobody's going to come. So they end up building a ton of these houses with no amenities. And then people have to drive 15, 20, 30 minutes to get anywhere. And then eventually, once they have all the houses, then they backfill with commercial, because now the business owners know they have the patrons. So I understand it. I definitely understand it. Unless you have massively deep pockets or you're building something like that's not retail. I mean, if you look at like Lake Nona, they're building retail now, but they didn't build retail early. They built the jobs first. Not every area is going to be able to do that. And so that's the reason. That's the reason this commercial took forever, because they were waiting for more people to live here. Now 15,000 people, or 15,000 rooftops, are in Horizon West. And, the new pub that's opening up, there's like a new Miller's Ale House. We talked about the different golf course. There's like all this other stuff coming because now they've got patrons. Dude, why not? Why is Disney investing in 55 and older community in Lake Nona? Why not? I mean, think about this. Who are Disney's, like, the diehards are the people with as much nostalgia as possible, and who probably has more nostalgia for Disney than anyone else. And that's going to be your 55 and older community. So I think Disney is going to crush it in the 55 and older community. I mean, because right now the Villages is like an hour away, and there's plenty of people that do want that distance between Disney and them, but many of them want to be close. They want that 20-30 minute drive max. And so I think they're going to have a massive opportunity and a really long wait time for people to get in. CT Law says, what do I think about Orange County versus Osceola? Well, I mean, Orange County is, for the most part, completely built out. Obviously, that's where the city of Orlando is. Osceola is actually 75% still rural. They've got a lot of growth to go, a lot of things to still happen. There's a lot of still old school farmers, that kind of thing. A lot of growth potential for sure. But Orange County is kind of like where the metropolitan is, and Lake County, Osceola County, Polk County, they're like the future as Orlando expands. Cooper64 says, how long should we plan for a trip to scope out the different areas? I would plan at least 3 or 4 days, non-park days. I'm going to put that in as an emphasis. I get a lot of people that are like, oh, we're coming to Disney. We're coming to Disney for 6 days and we'll tack on 1 extra. I think, to really get a good feel of the areas, give yourself 3 or 4 days. We can kind of map out some different spots on places to eat, check out some farmers markets, check out what it feels like to live in some of these towns instead of just like a quick pop through. That would be my suggestion to you. I think 3 days at least, just to look at areas. Damon asks, are there areas no rentals allowed in Claremont or Winter Garden, considering a primary residence? Yeah, so there's like literally one neighborhood that I can think of in all of Winter Garden that allows short-term rentals. That's the Grove neighborhood. And that's right on the cusp that like literally sits on the border of Kissimmee. And then Claremont, really just like the very small sliver of the South Claremont allows short-term rentals. And Claremont's huge. It's 3 zip codes. They don't allow short-term rentals. And so, yeah, there's quite a bit. There's the majority of those 2 cities don't allow it. So if you're looking for long-term and you kind of want that non-resort-esque, you're good. Yeah, deep pockets over 55 too, man. I mean, they're not going for the millennials. It's not Disney for millennials. It's let me go with some of that 55 and older money, that silver wave coming to Orlando or Florida in general. Disney, man, they're so deep. I mean, like if I would love if you guys are from Disney and you're watching this, you could tell me even on the side, because I'm just I look at some stuff like this. Thanks for watching, by the way, 156 of you guys watching live. This means the world that we're hanging out talking about Orlando. But Disney people, this is what I want to know. Think about what downtown Disney used to be. It was kind of like, Pleasure Island, couple shops, nothing crazy. Somebody at Disney or some team at Disney said, we're going to invest $1 billion, I don't know what it was, to make Disney Springs and make it what it is today. And someone had the forethought to know, like, if we build it, people will come. Have you ever been to Disney Springs on a Friday night? It's body to body. There are so many people there. They're adding they had the grapefruit garage so people can park there. But somebody had the analytics behind it to know that it was going to be a massively profitable center for them. So I'm sure those same people are thinking like 2 things. One, how do we attract Airbnb money back to Disney? That's why they're probably investing more in the DVC products. I've seen a few more neighborhoods or few more hotels popping up in Orlando in the Disney DVC line. They're probably thinking of that. Because there's so many Airbnbs, and 2, they're thinking, how do we take advantage of the 55 and older community in a good way? Like, I mean, not abusive way, but like, how do we take advantage of all of those people's money? Those 2 things blow me away. The analytics behind it, obviously they went to school, super smart people, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Dude, Matt, how are there only 38 likes when there's 152 viewers? Yes, please, all 159 of you, if you guys don't mind smashing that like button, that would mean the world. I know we are also streaming over on Facebook, but for the majority of you watching here on YouTube, if you don't mind dropping a comment below, it definitely does help, hitting that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I don't know how you found this live today, but make sure you subscribe. It does mean the world to me that you guys spend some time. So anyhow. Okay, hold on. Ned Kelly wants an update. Hold on. Just for you, Ned Kelly. Hold on. All right, here we go. Here we go. It's finished. This guy right here. Look at it. It's got this all works. This was cool. This was my first adult Lego. Anyways, I love this thing. Went over there by the other one. Very fun to put together. Good times. Thanks for asking, Ned Kelly. He said about time. I had it for a good month and a half before I even touched it. So, yeah, agreed, Irish. I mean, like Disney Springs is there's only I think it's just one Disney. There's 2 Disney shops in the whole place. So when people say like, "Oh, where do you guys go eat?" I'm like, "Oh, we go to Disney Springs a lot." And they're like, "Oh, it's not like we're going to Walt Disney World to eat all the time. We're going to Disney Springs. There's like some of the best restaurants I've ever been to at Disney Springs." So yeah, it's cool. But they knew. They had the analytics. All right. Well, everyone, it's been a lot of fun hanging out with you guys. If you guys have anything real estate related, my team and I would love to help. If you haven't signed up for the Orlando Reel yet, we're already putting out the newsletter every week. For those of you that have already seen the new newsletter, comment below. I'd love to get your feedback on that. But yeah, that's going well. We've got a whole team of people helping us with writing and sourcing and just making it look amazing and helping it. It's not salesy at all. It's all about just content. How can we help you guys know more about Orlando and that kind of thing? But kind of like an extension of these videos that you're watching right now. But anyways, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your Saturday and Sunday and crush it next week. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Talk to you soon.